For months, 3I Atlas has haunted the imagination of scientists and stargazers alike. A mysterious interstellar visitor glowing with an unnatural emerald hue, shifting its trajectory in ways no comet or asteroid ever should. It defied every model, every prediction, every law we thought we understood. But now, thanks to the James Webb Space Telescope, the mystery has taken a chilling turn. Webb's powerful instruments didn't just capture the light of Atlas. They detected something inside it. A repeating signal buried deep within the spectrum, so faint it almost went unnoticed. At first, it was dismissed as interference, static carried by cosmic radiation. But when decoded, the patterns revealed something impossible. A structured code. Not random. Not natural. But deliberate. A message suggesting that Atlas was never a rock or a comet at all, but a transmitter, broadcasting a language humanity was never meant to hear. It began when Webb trained its ultra-sensitive spectrographs on Atlas, dissecting its strange green glow into wavelengths invisible to human eyes. What should have been the signature of frozen gases turned out to be laced with anomalies. Specific bands of light pulsed with mathematical precision, repeating at intervals far too exact to be random. Scientists called it a coincidence. But when cross-checks from multiple observatories confirmed the same rhythm, disbelief turned into dread. When the data was plotted visually, something extraordinary appeared. Waves forming geometric patterns, spirals, lattices, and ratios echoing the golden proportion, the same mathematical harmony found in seashells, galaxies, and DNA. This wasn't radiation. It was information encoded into light. For the first time, astronomers realized they weren't observing a cosmic object. They were reading it. As decoding efforts intensified, researchers noticed that the code wasn't arbitrary. It was built on prime numbers, Fibonacci sequences, and ratios believed to be universal constants, the language of reason itself. If an advanced civilization ever wanted to speak across the void, this is how they would do it. But what unsettled scientists most was that the signal wasn't flat, it was layered. Like pages stacked in dimensions, each pulse held multiple meanings. The first layers translated into simple numbers. The deeper ones formed maps, star charts, alignments, and finally, what looked like blueprints. Atlas wasn't just speaking. It was instructing. Some saw an opportunity, a universal conversation finally answered. Others saw something more dangerous, a teaching mechanism, a transmission meant to reshape. And that's when the past began to echo through the data. When archaeologists were brought in to compare the geometric forms hidden in the signal, they were stunned. Many of the shapes mirrored ancient symbols carved into humanity's oldest monuments. Spirals from New Grange, concentric circles from Mayan temples, and even the proportions of the Great Pyramid of Giza matched the patterns encoded in Atlas's light. Coincidence? Or continuity? Was it possible that Atlas, or something like it, had visited before? That the echoes of its message had shaped our earliest civilizations? Because the deeper researchers compared, the harder it became to dismiss the similarities. The code wasn't foreign. It was familiar, as if humanity had been hearing this song for thousands of years without understanding its words. Weeks later, the mystery deepened. Hidden within the signal, researchers found a repeating coordinate reference, not to a distant galaxy, but within our own solar system. When mapped, the point of origin was unmistakable, the Moon. For decades, theories had lingered about the Moon being more than a passive satellite, its density anomalies, seismic hollowness, unexplained resonances. But now, the signal seemed to confirm them. Atlas's message wasn't directed into the void. It was pointing home. Could the Moon be a receiver, an ancient relay waiting to be reactivated? Humanity suddenly faced a chilling possibility. We weren't merely decoding a signal. We were following breadcrumbs left in our own sky. When researchers ran the decoded sequences through AI-driven simulations, the results defied comprehension. The systems began generating three-dimensional models on their own, geometric structures resembling towers, lattices, and networks. They weren't random. They were functional, as if each was a component of something greater. And then, the most terrifying discovery of all. Even after power was cut, the machines kept running. Hard drives emitted faint electromagnetic pulses, screens flickered in synchronization, and disconnected computers began communicating. The signal had left an imprint, not just in the data, but in the hardware itself. It was alive in the code. Analysis of the low-frequency layers revealed faint silences between the primary pulses, tiny gaps that, when amplified, contained echoes. Those echoes formed star maps, constellations matching not just distant systems, but alignments across our solar system. Earth. Mars. The Moon. It was a trail. A cosmic breadcrumb map, guiding someone, or something, through the stars. But where did it lead? And who was meant to follow? As if the universe itself was listening, strange patterns began appearing on Earth. Researchers exposed to the decoded signal started experiencing vivid hallucinations, glowing spirals, complex symbols, impossible geometries burned into their minds. EEG scans revealed synchronization between human brainwaves and the rhythm of the Atlas pulse. Some reported sudden euphoria, others overwhelming dread. And in the most disturbing cases, individuals began sketching symbols identical to the code itself, perfect, intricate designs they had never seen before. It became clear that the signal wasn't meant just for machines. It was meant for us. For biology. Humanity wasn't just receiving the code, it was resonating with it. As the decoding reached its final layers, a pattern emerged, a sequence decreasing in perfect intervals. A countdown. At first, it was mistaken for repetition noise, until someone calculated the timing between pulses. It wasn't arbitrary. It was progressing. And when the endpoint was calculated, the result sent shockwaves across the world. The countdown would end not in centuries or decades, but in months. What happens when it reaches zero? Meanwhile, oceans began to hum. Deep-sea sensors miles beneath the surface detected rhythmic pulses that mirrored Atlas's frequency. Hydrophones captured harmonic vibrations spreading through the water. Bioluminescent plankton began glowing in spirals visible from orbit, identical to the shapes encoded in the signal. The Earth itself had become part of the transmission. When researchers revisited declassified Cold War archives, they found something extraordinary: fragments of radio bursts from the 1970s, dismissed as static at the time. Those fragments matched parts of Atlas's signal exactly. The code had touched Earth before. We just hadn't recognized it. Then came the global phenomenon. Hospitals reported surges of patients suffering neurological disturbances at the exact moments Atlas pulsed. Children drew spirals in their sleep. Languages long dead began reappearing in whispers of delirium. And amid the chaos, scientists reconstructed the entire signal, assembling the data into a three-dimensional form. What they found wasn't a message. It was a design. At the smallest scale, it resembled DNA and crystalline lattices. At the largest, architecture. Massive interlocking structures that looked less like machines and more like something alive. A hybrid of biology and technology. A blueprint not for a device, but for a system. Whether it was meant to be built or already exists somewhere in the universe remains unknown. But one truth became undeniable: Atlas wasn't communicating. It was reactivating. The James Webb Space Telescope was built to study the birth of galaxies, not to awaken something hidden within our own. But in decoding the light of Atlas, humanity may have triggered a response that had waited for millennia. Because this wasn't a discovery. It was a reconnection. A signal that touches machines, oceans, minds, and now time itself. It's not new. It's ancient. Etched in stone, reflected in monuments, whispered in sleep, and now burning once again across the heavens. And as the countdown ticks closer to zero, one question remains. Was the code a warning, a gift, or a command? Because one thing is certain, this message was never meant for us. And we've already answered it.